MTR announced measures to help passengers cope with service suspension at 4 Kuntong Line stations this Sunday. Taiwan prepares for the approach of Typhoon Gami. And in the U.S., Kamala Harris secures the support of enough Democratic delegates to become her party's presidential nominee. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The MTR Corporation is going to suspend services on Sunday at 4 stations on the Kuntong Line stretching from Prince Edward to Ho Man Tin to facilitate maintenance work. The railway company expects a surge in commuters at Prince Edward Station that day and has urged the public to plan their alternative travel routes ahead of time. Timothy Lee tells us more.
The MTR has reminded the traveling public to pay particular attention to these signs placed in stations such as Prince Edward, Mongkok, and Yamate. Trains traveling on the Kuntong Line on Sunday will run between Tu Kang Leng and Prince Edward, as well as between Ho Man Tin and Whampoa. The arrangement is to facilitate the replacement of more than 50 metal hangers used for hanging power cables from the tunnel ceiling in that section of the tracks between Prince Edward and Ho Man Tin stations. Prince Edward Station will be the only station for passengers changing between the Kuntong Line and the Chunwan Line. Kuntong Line passengers traveling to either Mongkok or Yamate must also make the switch at Prince Edward. The MTR will deploy some 1,000 staff members to hold signs displaying changes in lines and platforms as part of the measure. For those intending to travel to Ho Man Tin or Whampoa, the MTR suggested the usage of the Chunwan Line. Buses traveling on KMB's routes 8 and 30X will also increase services and be free of charge in a bid to facilitate passengers heading to areas between Yamate and Whampoa. Cheris Lee, the MTR's chief of operating and metro segment, stressed crowd control measures will be in place due to an expected surge in commuters at Prince Edward Station, adding the availability of trains will also be adjusted. Affected services include trains traveling on the Kuntong, Chunwan, and Chunman lines, which will arrive every 3.5 and 5.5 minutes. The MTR has also urged passengers traveling across the harbor to avoid using the Chunwan line. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Police have arrested 5 mainlanders on suspicion of selling fake concert tickets. It's understood the tickets are for Cantopop singer Sammy Chang's concert. The suspects, aged between 34 and 46, allegedly swindled 3 victims out of some $8,000. The tickets had highly convincing designs, including fonts and security features such as QR codes and hologram stickers. The 5 men have been granted bail. The police have reminded the public that offenders convicted of obtaining property by deception could face a 10-year prison term. Typhoon Gami is strengthening as it approaches Taiwan. Typhoon Gami is expected to make landfall on the island's northeastern coast on Wednesday night at the earliest. In Taitung, on the southeastern coast of the island, some outdoor installations have been deflated and removed as a safety precaution. In Hualien County, farmers stepped up efforts to minimize damage to their orchards. Many residents also stocked up on food. In Taipei, authorities are handing out sandbags in case of flooding. With Gami barreling towards Taiwan, Hong Kong Express announced the cancellation of 8 flights tomorrow and Thursday between Hong Kong and Taipei. EVA Air is canceling at least 12 flights between Hong Kong and Taipei. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris looks like she has secured the support of enough Democratic delegates to become their presidential nominee and take on Donald Trump. Harris thanked President Joe Biden for his endorsement, saying she can win the election in November. She told campaigners she has the backing of the majority of the party. An Associated Press survey backs her up. David Garrett reports.
Cheers at Democratic campaign headquarters in Delaware for the arrival of the potential saviour. Surveys indicate Joe Biden couldn't win, so he has passed the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris, who will run for president. Her presidential campaign was flooded with $81 million in donations in the 24 hours after Biden dropped out. Convalescing from COVID at home, her boss was listening in.
Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. and we did everybody here there.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe. Oh.
Harris showered the president with praise, although polls suggest if he'd continued, he would have had little chance of winning a second term.
I am a first-hand witness, from being with him in the Oval Office to the Situation Room and seeing him on the global stage with world leaders. President Joe Biden fights for the American people, and we are deeply, deeply grateful.
There was plenty of smiling, clapping, laughing, lots of laughing. Harris portrayed a softer character in stark contrast to Donald Trump.
And it is my great honor to have Joe's endorsement in this race.
You sure do.
And it is my intention to go out and earn this nomination and to win.
Harris needs the backing of the party to go up against Trump, but says she has it and important Democratic figures are fighting for her.
I pledged my support to her. Now, the rest of that conversation, I said would stay between us. We have a trust in where we're able to exchange ideas.
With Harris reaching out to potential supporters, journalists have been hitting the phones and psephologists crunching the numbers.
We now have Vice President Harris with the support of more than half of those delegates. The magic number she needed to reach in order to have a majority was 1,976 delegates. She's now passed that mark. That doesn't mean, though, that she's the presumptive nominee. These delegates are free to change their minds whenever they want. So we've been contacting these delegates to find out who they support. The overwhelming response from the delegates we've contacted so far is that they support Vice President Harris to be the nominee.
It is looking more and more like Harris versus Trump this November. David Garrett, TVB News.
In Croatia, a gunman entered a nursing home in the northwest of the country on Monday, killing 6 people, including his mother, and injuring 6 others. The suspect fled the scene, but police caught him a short time later in a nearby cafe. The suspect is under police supervision. Local media reported the shooter was born in 1973 and was a former policeman who took part in the 1991-95 war in Croatia. 5 people died at the scene, with 1 later dying in hospital. One of the victims was a nursing home employee. Relatives of the residents gathered outside the building, trying to find out about their loved ones. Croatian President Zoran Milanovic said he was shocked by the savage, unprecedented crime. Authorities gave no motive for the attack. Still ahead, Palestinian factions signed the Beijing Declaration to end their division. A giant Doraemon inflated again in Chimsha-Choi. And the 120th anniversary of Hong Kong tramways. Welcome back. Palestinian factions Hamas and Fatah signed a declaration in Beijing on ending a years-long rift, Chinese state media said today. The signing is a step towards potentially resolving the deep divide between the sides as the war in Gaza rages on. Foreign Minister Wang Yi said Gaza is an inseparable and important part of Palestine, and starting post-war reconstruction has become an urgent issue. Tracy Furness reports.
Hamas and Fatah, the 2 heavyweights in Palestinian politics, with the smaller Palestinian groups, are set to form a unity government for the Palestinian territories, agreed on in the latest series of talks meant to unite all sides. Hamas and Fatah signed the Beijing Declaration to end their division and to strengthen Palestine solidarity. The 3-day reconciliation talks in Beijing, which ended today, was at the invitation of the Chinese side and included representatives of 14 main Palestinian factions who met with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi.
All sides of the Palestine factions signed the Beijing Declaration on ending fractions and strengthening national unity. it has been released. This peace talk provides valuable hope for the Palestinian people in the abyss of misery. The declaration highly commends China for supporting the rights of Palestinian people and ending the fraction, and its sincere efforts for the unity of Palestinian people. It underscores holding the international conference with broad-based participation and authority supported by the UN.
Previous declarations have failed, including a similar one in 2011, which has cast doubts over whether the China-sponsored negotiations might lead to a resolution. This as the future of Gaza is undecided, with Israel opposed to any role by Hamas in governing Gaza. It has also rejected calls from the US for the Fatah-dominated Palestinian Authority to run Gaza after the war. The Beijing agreement underscores China's growing role in Middle East diplomacy. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The European Union is Hong Kong's third largest trading partner. The bloc's outgoing top diplomat to Hong Kong looked back at his 4-year tenure here with TVB News and commented on the city's political and trade-related changes. With its more than 1,500 companies, the EU has the largest foreign business community in Hong Kong. Speaking to TVB News as he wrapped up his 4-year term, Thomas Gnocchi, the head of the European Union's office to Hong Kong, said, despite the close trade ties, he witnessed the city's political changes.
I came just two months after the national security law was imposed. A lot of the political issues came up during my time here. I think it's fair to say that we've really seen very big changes.
Still, the European Union has a more pragmatic approach when it comes to navigating the current geopolitical atmosphere.
Europe, one of our basic principles is to keep channels of communication open. So even in a complex geopolitical world, this is something that we try and maintain. I think it would be important to stress the uniqueness of Hong Kong in terms of the way the economy is managed, but even on issues that go beyond the economy, characterize Hong Kong, its high degree of autonomy, the one country, two systems. They're all important factors for European companies in deciding to base themselves here.
He added that the EU has removed Hong Kong from the list of non-cooperative jurisdictions for tax purposes, which serves as a positive example of cooperation between the bloc and Hong Kong on promoting fairness in foreign-sourced income exemption, and on the EU's latest proposal to impose tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles.
It's not taking away necessarily the competitive advantage of Chinese EVs, but doing away with damaging subsidies which have an effect on the competitiveness of European producers.
Having held EU and Hong Kong the Greenway event for 3 years, Thomas Gnocchi said he hopes the cross-sector dialogue to promote a greener and more sustainable future between EU countries and the city could continue even after he leaves Hong Kong. A 12-meter-tall Doraemon installation in Tsim Sha Tsui that was taken down earlier due to poor weather conditions was re-inflated today. The beloved robotic cat once again greeted fans and visitors at the Avenue of Stars. Several ropes were used to secure the installation to its place. Its return attracted many tourists who wished to take photos with a Japanese pop culture icon. Organizers said the inflated Doraemon was taken down last Monday because of a thunderstorm. In celebration of its 120th anniversary, Hong Kong Tramways will team up with beloved local cartoon McDo to host a pop-up event at the Central Market from July 31st to September 8th. Helen Chen has more.
Outside the Central Market, the tram ambassador Ding Ding Cat greets passers-by, inviting them inside to take a peek at the Hong Kong Tramways 120th anniversary pop-up event. Once inside the market, traces of the popular local cartoon McDo can start to be seen. Visitors are greeted with the interactive event Finding Principal, where they can challenge themselves by finding the hidden McDo character, Principal, to collect 6 stamps at 6 different checkpoints. Following the Principal, visitors will be taken to different corners of the market, where they can discover a series of game booths and photo spots, including giant Jenga blocks, tram route mazes, and colorful McDo windows in the atrium. On the second floor of the market, visitors can find the postcard station and write down their memories of the tramways on postcards featuring 5 iconic tram stops as a way to wish the tramways happy birthday. In addition to the interactive events, there is also an exhibition on the history of tram development on the ground floor, where visitors can review Hong Kong Tramway's historical footprints. Helen Chen, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.